Well, guys, we are still without gas and still without any sign of anything changing. The plumbers that came out didn't return the email with the estimate the next day as they had said they would. So on Wednesday, my husband called them at about 1 in the afternoon saying, hey, just looking for some information. And the gal said, oh, I just got it from him. It'll be coming soon. And it just didn't ring true, but I'm going to trust that she isn't lying to us. But then a little while later, the email, I think it was like an hour or so later, the email did finally come through, and they are not going to do it. They don't want to. The guy didn't listen. My husband said he didn't care if it went back over the roof or if we went around the house, whatever was the best way to do it. Well, they decided they didn't want to go over the roof, so they weren't doing it at all. So now tomorrow he has to call. We just found that out, yesterday. So today, Thursday, it's tomorrow in my head. We have to call and find out from other places if somebody else is willing to do this. And if not, we've got to figure out how to reconvert our entire house to electric everything. That will be fun. Yeah, that will be fun. We just don't know what's going on. Basically, that's really what it boils down to. So, I'm stinky and disgusting. I have to get to my daughter's house and take a shower, but I haven't been able to do that yet. So here we go. We're just going to do something that I hadn't planned on because it's what I can do with such limited abilities. But I feel like I'm just like abandoning my job. I haven't even been reading. I've been listening to audiobooks, but I haven't even been reading because everything is just so up in the air and I've got so many things going. But I did notice a stack. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a stack over there of books that have come in. And so I thought, forget it. I'm going to do a little mini book haul. It's kind of weird to do it this way, but why not? We live once. And I can, then actually be able to put these books away. And because I also have a video from my friend who is the author of one of these books, and I was at her house the day I left North Carolina. So we had a little chat about her book that I could share here. So I thought, well, I can do that and I can add that in instead of just this super short little clip of her. So this is what we're going to do, except that I see a book over there that I missed. So I'm going to go get that. And I guess I'll start with this one. So the book that I'm writing right now, The Trees of New Cheltenham, it's book 7 in this Christmas in New Cheltenham series. That series finally has an official title as of today. I'm so excited. Also, the spines finally have numbers. And I thought I had just forgotten to put numbers on them. I didn't remember that I actually chose not to put numbers on them deliberately because I wanted to figure out how I was going to do it with the Christmas books and all the other books that aren't Christmas books interspersed and everything. And then I just forgot about that part. And then I forgot about all of it. Well, now I have an answer. And so, what is. Well, in the Trees of New Cheltenham, we have a new store opening in the fake British village of New Cheltenham. It is Dickens and More Company, and More is Moore as in Clement. And there's a whole story behind why Clement More is even a part of that. And I might do an actual video on the book when it comes out. But the point is that there's a big, for 4 months of the year, there's a big Christmas thing on the first level of the store, and then the upstairs, it'll move up there and all the upstairs will come down, and the upstairs is all Victorian literature except anything Sherlock. She doesn't do Sherlock at all. There is a store in the town, 221B. Obviously, she doesn't want to be a direct competitor with that guy, but anything, and that was last year's book, but anything that has to do with Victorian literature, not just the books, not just the major players. I'm learning about some Victorian authors I didn't know about, doing research for this book, but even things like book bags with Victorian literature quotes on it, or t-shirts, games. I found some cool games. I'm doing all these things. Well, that Christmas on Jane Street, that's why I bought that book. And, that's going to definitely be a Christmas read this year. Another one I found was the Annotated Night Before Christmas. It's a collection of sequels, parodies, and imitations of Clement Moore's Night Before Christmas, basically. So there's some really funny ones in here. Santa Claus's petition, and there's such cool pictures. There were some fun ones that I was just cracking up. Wizard of Oz influences, and then a visit from Saint, I don't even know what that is. I'm not going to try to say it because I'm an idiot. A visit from Sid Vicious. The year Dickie quit. Santa is a little late tonight. Kris Kringle's surprise. This one was really fun. It was the night before Christmas, and all through the house, how the tinsel was scattered, and twigs by the thousand, and stockings were come by the chimney with care. They were skewered with 10-penny nails, to be fair. The children, God bless them, were snug in their beds with clothesline to their ankles and heads. It's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about it. But this is one of the books that they sell in that store. I'm going to move this one up here because it's tiny, and then I'm going to turn these upside down. So when I was at my friend Anne's house, she was talking about, well, actually at the retreat, my friend Anne was talking about this book, Living Fearless, by Jaime Winship, Exchanging the Lies of the World with the Liberating Truth of God. And I think it might be Chantal who has mentioned this one recently. Well, I get to Anne's house, and she brought the book in so I could look at it, and I read the first chapter. Not there. I read this abiding chapter, this introduction, that's what it was. And it's talking about this guy, and he's joining this police academy, and there's one guy you don't want to get in this police academy. I'm going to tilt this down a little bit. And so, I guess he's like brutal, and very few people make it through, and all kinds of stuff. And so this is what we get, right? Well, the story was so amazing. It was so good. I loved the story. That sold me on the book. I ordered it before I left her house. But the back of it says, discover the secret to being fully alive, fully human, and fully free. After decades living and working in conflict zones, Jaime Winship discovered an important truth. All human conflict originates from fear, and fear originates from a false view of God, ourselves, and others. Until we exchange what's false for what's real, we will never experience the true freedom of our identity in Christ. And so that's what this book is supposed to be about. And I'm looking forward to reading it because I think it sounds good. And I think I might actually have to raise this some because there won't be room for this stack if I don't. Next up, A Golden Shadows by Michele Griep came in. I should just read a little bit from the back and then I'll talk about what she said. The shadows hold secrets darker than they ever imagined. In 1888 Victorian England, Amy Dalton navigates a clandestine dual life. By day, she strives to establish herself as a respected Egyptologist, overcoming the gender biases that permeate academia, but with a heart for saving black market artifacts from falling into the wrong hands, she is most often disguised as her alter ego, the shadow broker. And it really is all about how, so many of those Egyptian artifacts were being plundered and then sold to collectors and just in a way destroyed. The culture is being destroyed. So this story is about this gal and someone else who wants to talk to her father and kind of feels like he got a bait and switch with her because she's the one that comes, or is it her uncle? I don't know. It's somebody. And it just sounds so good. I'm looking so forward to it. Had a blast talking to Michele on the podcast. And then this one, Uncluttered, Shaping Your Heart and Home for What Matters Most. Angie, I can't remember how to pronounce her last name. Hyche? Now Liana George, she has the perfectly matched, perfectly something. There's a 3-book series. It's a really good, it's like you take a professional organizer and you write a novel about what she does and make the novel just real and a great, just wonderful story. And this is what that series is. So that's Liana. And then Angie came to our retreat a few years ago. And when she was talking about her organizing business and decluttering and all the stuff, I was like, you would really love this series of books by this gal, Liana George. And she's like, Liana's like my best friend. And then on top of it, it was so cool. So on top of it, they wrote this devotional together. And then Angie also wrote a Clutterbug play. And when we were at the retreat, all of us sat around and we read the play out together. And it was so much fun. I had such a blast with it. I got to play she's kind of a snot. The wife is kind of a snot, until Redemptive Mullins, right? And so I got to kind of play, I have to admit, I would have really loved to play the grandma because the grandma was amazing. But the gal who did play the grandma did amazing. So it all worked. God set the right people up together. It was so much fun. So we did that. And then, she gave me a copy of her book. I think I'm going to set this one aside for a minute. She gave me a copy of her book and, all was well. Oh, there's some papers that I kind of need. Oh, okay. Well, there we go with that. I'm going to keep this aside for a minute. And then also at that retreat, you come back from the retreat and your suitcase is overweight because you come back with all these books. But she gave me Liz Tolsma's, which I thought I had bought, but I hadn't. When I was so excited because I was about to go buy it. And she was like, does anyone want this book? I'm done with it. And I was like, yes, please give me this book. And it's World War II. I think this one's the one in France. Yes, this one's in France. So it says, a family's history is lost to the ravages of World War II in Southwest France. So it's 1942 and 2022. And then, how they kind of mesh together. But if I recall correctly, they're trying to evacuate this maternity hospital, or maybe it's just an orphanage. I'm not sure which. I bet the back says the young girl scheduled for transport escapes to nearby. Oh, no, they're hiding it. I thought they were evacuating it. Okay, so I was wrong about that. But anyway, but it was a maternity hospital anyway. So I've been looking forward to it. Nancy said it has hope and redemption in it, but it's a hard World War II story. It's not one of the rah-rah, we're the conquerors kind of stories. But that's a lot of what you find in France. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think this is the first one in the Agatha Christie novels. I saw him die. I got that on eBay after I read the other one because I'd kind of like to read them in order. So this one, in this classic whodunit, In this classic whodunit, filled with the red herrings and double crosses, the Queen of Crime returns in the role of sleuth. Oh, no, this isn't the first one. As she investigates a mysterious death in the Scottish Highlands. Da, da, da. So Agatha Christie goes to the Scottish Highlands, and we have another book there. And then again at my friend's house, and showed me this book, and she said, you are going to love this book. You need to read this book. Just it's what I asked what they were reading this year. Every year that they read a book aloud with the kids. I think they're middle graders, but not middle graders, middle schoolers, but don't quote me on that. But they read a book aloud. One year it was The Little White Horse, so I bought it because Anne said it was so good. And then boom, yes, it was really, really good. And then she said to get this book because it was awesome. I don't have The Eagle. The Eagle is the first book in the series, and she doesn't think you need to read the books in order or even read the other books. But I went ahead and got this one and this one because this one's in some seriously bad condition. But I'm sorry, but little Mr. eBay seller, this is not good condition. This is barely acceptable. This cover is really rippled and messed up, but that's okay. So this is, I think, is this the second book? Yeah, book 2, and that's Lantern Bears is book 3. So I do need to get the Eagle, but I want them to match. And the ones that I found on there did not match. So I decided I would just keep watching until one showed up, because I'm pretty sure it will. They're, reasonably recent-ish. So I'm going to be watching for that. But this, she said this was a really important book. There would be no light tonight to guide the fleets of the Empire. The last of the eagles were flying from Britain. As the fortress lantern is extinguished forever and the last of the Roman army have set sail, Britain is left to civil war and an ever-increasing threat of Saxon invasion. And that's obviously what the final book is about. The second one says, what things it must have seen, bitter and dark and glorious things, this maimed bird of gilded bronze that was the life and honor of a lost legion. So that's book 2. I don't know about book 1, but I definitely want to get it. And I think I do want to read them in order. I tend to be let's read them in order. I feel like I've got to put this other book down next because it fits in size, but I'm not going to. So then, one of the things in this Trees of New Cheltenham that, happened, if you will, but one of the things that they're talking about having their own imprint that reprints beautiful copies of Victorian literature with, very special, uniquely designed covers. So they're limited edition. You can only get them from that shop, right? Well, they decided, they were talking about this author and that author and the other things, right? And one of the things that they decided they wanted to do were basically a clergy type series where some of those Victorian authors who have all the different, there's a lot with curate and a lot with vicar. And then, of course, you've got the whole Barsetshire series has, it's all about different clergymen. But I think that would have to be separate, and I think they would agree with me. And I can make them agree with me because they're my characters and I get to tell them what to do. They let me think that. Anyway, but like George MacDonald has Thomas Wingfield curate. There's a lot of really great Victorian literature that has, some clergyman name in the title. And I found this one by Trollope, the Vicar of Bullhampton. I know nothing about it. It's a really nice feeling hardback. It just holds open so nicely, and it folds. And the typeface and everything looks really small, but it's not. So I'm really hoping I'm going to love it. Isn't it just adorable? Look how small it is. It cannot be a long book. It's like, 500 pages? Look how short it is. Yeah, it's like 510 pages or something. But look how, the back, I need to do some repairs. But still, for just the few dollars I paid for it, I'll take it. But got to figure out how to get this off without tearing. I don't know if it shows, but see how it's trying to take up that. Really sad. So I got to figure that out. But I'm also thinking I need to look back here and see if there are any of these others that I want and get them in this edition, because I really do like it. I like the feel of it. Anywho, so those were those. And then while I was at the barn, my friend Nancy, who is one of the ones who took care of setting us all up this year, this is her debut novel. It's one of the Ever After mysteries, To Love a Falcon. This is not one of the 20s mysteries. This is the 40s. It's the very end of the 40s. So instead of World War II, this is the Cold War in Russia, Siberia, and it deals with a Russian fairy tale. So I'm going to insert that video with Nancy here, and then I'll be back. So hi, how you doing?
It is so nice to have you in my home.
It's so good to be here. How many times have I come this way and I've never come to see you?
At least 10 times.
That's scary.
Maybe 8.
And I missed,
Because
I missed 2.
Mm-hmm.
I missed 2, but
I'm just delighted to have you here.
I'm so excited to get to see you and to see your Narnia room.
Yes.
I have heard about this room for years, and it was super cool. Guys, I'm just going to say, you missed out on the Narnia room. She's got an entire, like, you open the door and you go and you move the coats and you go in, and she's got it all. It's so cool. Whee! But, guys, this is my friend Nancy Williams, and she has one of the Ever After books, and I talked to her on my podcast, but never here, and this is her book, To Love a Falcon, and I'm going to let her tell you about the fairy tale and all the stuff that goes with it.
Okay. This is a book that is a novel, but based on a true story about my father-in-law, whose name was Arnold Williams. He was involved in a top-secret mission during World War II, right at the very end, where the United States was going to be transferring ships over to Russia for them to launch a D-Day type invasion of Japan that was like the one that was been done in Europe. So that was the idea, and during that time, my father-in-law befriended one of the Russian naval officers who'd been brought in, and Arnold believed he was murdered and martyred for his faith. So one of the things that Arnold brought back home from this soldier's effects, which he found just scattered out on some beach dunes, was a 1917 Russian New Testament. And this is it here. It was printed just before the Revolution. So you can look at this. This Bible is over 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
Is that not really just neat?
I would love to read it, but I can't read Cyrillic or whatever it is that they use.
I can barely read, but it is Cyrillic. That's
See?
right.
I did something right.
So anyway, it's not a wonderful story because the poor man was, we believe, like we said, murdered, but it was just such an interesting story that he was able to bring back from that. The lend-lease of the ships continued, but when the U.S. dropped the bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, thank you. That's when the Japanese surrendered, and then they did not need to finish the program. Right. But at any rate, that's where the story starts. And then I wrote a novel that was based on the hypothesis of what if he had left a fiance back home who did not know he was murdered or deceased. And that is what a lot of war brides during that time, and just wives, widows, were left in the dark. They didn't know what had happened. So.
And there was so much that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when you consider, I don't know how many people don't realize how many Russians died in World War II, not just military, but Russians.
Yes.
They starved their people. So there's these graphs that go up, and this many Englishmen died, and this many Americans died, and this many Germans died. And then they do the Russian, and it goes, and it goes, and it goes, and it goes, and it keeps going and going and going. And it's like that bar is never going to end. They lost way more. They lost way more than the Holocaust. It was like 20 million people died. Russians died.
And then you had Stalin, just relentlessly.
Yeah, and then it continued after the war.
Yes.
I don't even want to know how many died after the war.
Yes.
It was just horrific. It was a horrific time. But you have a closer connection to Russia than most people anyway.
Yes.
Not just because of your father-in-law.
Mm-hmm. But our son, Alex, was adopted from Siberia. We went over there in 1999, spent almost 4 weeks there going through the process. And anyway, he is now 28 and a marvelous, talented, very capable young man. So we're very proud of him.
And
yes, we have a daughter, Elizabeth, too. But Alex, like I said, we got him from Russia, and that was a whole story.
You have to tell about the courtroom, though. I mean,
the courtroom experience was like being on trial, and it was just interesting. Just a couple of snippets from that was that the judge was dressed in this black two-piece flowing dress that looked sort of like a robe, but it's really like an outfit. And then the prosecutor looked like she could have come out of a James Bond movie. And she was wearing these knee-high white boots, I remember that, and long blonde hair. And then she just was there mainly for just the purposes of helping with the adoption proceedings. And then right there in front of us was a cage that was like a gorilla cage, and the whole room was kind of painted sort of a pale green. And then there was this piano in the back that was like, what are they going to have music during the court proceedings? But the cage really is indicative of the concept of guilty until proven innocent kind of mentality of their court system. And we were basically on trial to be tested to see if we were capable parents for Alex, and I'm glad we passed muster. But anyway, it was an interesting.
In Siberia, of all places.
Yes, in Siberia.
I mean, in my brain, I hear Siberia, and I think obviously Fiddler on the Roof.
Mm-hmm.
I think Richard Wurmbrand. I think all the people that have been sent to Siberia for just Alexi's Secret Mission. That book, they were always afraid of getting caught with those Bibles and being sent to Siberia.
Well, that's our son's name is Alexei.
Yeah, he needed that book when he was a kid.
Huh,
that was one of my favorite books. I will send you a copy. I think
Okay.
I've got a spare.
All right.
There's such a good book.
And but that whole experience just gave us a flavor for what is. We love the Russians, by the way, as far as the people on the ground. They were absolutely very warm and genuine people. It's a shame that they're
And the ice cream.
Well, the ice cream, lots of ice cream. Good ice cream.
In
We're
the
sitting in
middle
the
of winter.
middle of ice and snow eating ice cream because it's so good.
I just loved it so much. So tell them about the fairy tale it's based on.
Okay, this is based on a Russian fairy tale called Phineas the Falcon. It's not a really well-known fairy tale to us, but it's about a handsome prince who flies around as a falcon by day, and at night he turns into a handsome prince, and he winds up with a Cinderella kind of daughter of these three daughters of this gentleman. And the heroine, is given a feather of Phineas the Falcon by her father, and she will throw it down on the floor, and he will poof pop up as the handsome prince. So that's sort of where it comes from. But then he has to fly away, and she has to follow him, and there's all kinds of adventures. But one of the characters is the Baba Yaga, and a Baba Yaga is a constant character in
I'm playing with the dog.
tales.
Okay, guys. Yeah, Baba Yaga.
You
Sorry.
can pick her up and show her to everybody. This is Heidi.
Say hi. Hello,
Sweet
Heidi.
baby. So the Baba Yaga is a curious little witch-like person. You never know if she's going to be benevolent or malevolent in a fairy tale. And she, like I said, she can be sort of a witch or an angel. But one of the curiosities of the Baba Yaga is that in Russian folklore, she lives in a little house that runs around on chicken legs.
I love that so much.
So I have a Baba Yaga in here, but I decided to transform her into something a little bit different. So if you read my book, you'll figure out pretty quick who she is.
Oh, Nancy, this was fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
And say hi, everyone. Say hi, Heidi.
Say hi, Heidi.
She's such a sweetie.
She's a party animal.
She's the bird with the getting into it business.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being interested in my book.
I'm always interested in your book.
And getting me to write
And
it.
that cover.
And being, yes, the cover, the beautiful
Isn't-
cover. Wait a
isn't
minute,
it
everybody's going to see this beautiful
Fabulous.
cover because
Josh
Shatana-
Markey did that.
Shatana and Josh Markey designed this together, so it's beautiful.
He painted that thing, and boy, is it gorgeous.
This is a MiG-9, and it plays a significant role in the book.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right.
And
Blessings to you.
yeah, and I'm gonna just hold this for a minute.
It's really neat. It's
Yeah.
just a treasured
Right?
possession.
Yeah. So is that someday?
It'll go into
Yeah.
Alice.
That'll mean something to him.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And there's my little pile. It's definitely very small, but it does let me put stuff away, which makes me very, very happy. And yeah, it's really rather varied, don't you think? I mean, you've got parodies and nonfiction on clutter and a mystery with a fairy tale and Christian nonfiction. And this obviously is Christian nonfiction. It's a devotional. But then you have historical, straight up Victorian historical fiction. Then you have World War II historical fiction, but it's split time. Then you have, basically it's a, Agatha Christie pastiche with Christie as a thing. This is ancient, almost ancient history, not quite ancient history, but it's, we're talking about Roman rule in England. So it's really early English, just before the Saxons. And then we have Victorian classics. So there's quite a bit here. I think it's pretty cool. What you reading? Tell me you're praying. Lie if necessary. And I hope I'll be back to semi-normal, or at least clean enough to pretend like I'm semi-normal really soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to go and get back to work on trees because it's really kind of weird. My characters are flirting and I'm having fun writing it. This is unusual and I want to enjoy it while it lasts because it's not going to last long. I'll see you guys later.